So gathering in the new tier 5 yellow and blue zones and the new tier 6 yellow zones absolutely sucks, and I'm going to tell you why. It is awful. It is terrible. Now, this footage that you're watching, this is about 2.5 hours of gathering condensed down into 8 minutes. And I did a whole lot of different zones. I tested a whole lot of different places. Right now, I'm doing Sandgust Cleft, which used to be my literal favorite and probably one of the highest yield silver per hour skinning zones in the entire game. Now, you'll notice that I'm not just skinning here, that I'm also just gathering up all the tier 5 resources. And even though I'm wearing a skinning set, you still see me mining tier 5 resources and, of course, getting tier 5 whatever. But essentially, it's more silver per hour to harvest the tier 5 resources with your skinning gear on. That means getting the fiber and the metals than it is to just ride around and only get the skinning. This is the only time this actually applies in a zone is the tier 5 zones, because the tier 5 resources are worth that much. Now, the way gathering works without premium is with the full gathering set and with your pork pie active, you might get 3 yield, sometimes rarely, out of a 5 node. So you can see here, like, if I'm harvesting, 5 out of 5 hide, then with my full skinning set, I might get 3 hide per gather, but most of the time it's just 2. Whereas whenever I'm gathering, with just the item and not the gear set, I still get 1 to 2. So it's not much of a loss on the tier 5. Now, this here is a tier 6 yellow zone, and we're doing skinning again, and this time we're only going after every animal we can see, but we're also getting enchanted nodes, so enchanted wood, enchanted stone, or flat tier 6 resources, which there is almost none of. These zones are completely picked dry. These tier 6 yellow zones, they're like, I could tell by looking at certain players that they're bots, how they skitter around and move really weird, inhumane-like, but also how people are radar hacking and they are like beelining the big resources from off screen. It's super obvious for someone that's played the game a long time. If you're new or a casual, you're not very perceptive, you probably won't notice too much. And I do have the timer on the screen this time. Each trial is about 30 minutes, and I do post the results in text form on the screen, though, because it is so sped up, it will be hard to see. You'll have to pause it, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's like, I think it's like less than 300,000 for the tier 6 yellow zone. It's really bad in 30 minutes. Also, I did chop a tree there with a couple reds, and as soon as the tree, it was one of those high yield trees that randomly spawns. They both tried to attack me, but I was already mounted up. They're a little slow on the trigger finger there, right? But yeah, that's the tier 6 yellow zone. Avoid, avoid, avoid. Now, if you just want to know, because you're 3 minutes in the video, how much, or what's the best thing to do, and that is tier 4 blue zones. Tier 4 blue zones are still the superior way to do it, and I showed 3 examples, kind of, sort of. So this example here that we're watching is a tier 4 blue zone. This is one zone outside of Bridgewatch, and I'm not super familiar with this zone, so I don't know where all like the dense spawns are, but the reason why these new tier 5 and tier 6 zones aren't as profitable, it's not because of the tier of the item or the market or the economy. It's the mob density. Also, I got a baby drop there, so that's interesting. But yeah, I think I ended up getting at least 2 baby drops, and I showed the calculation with and without baby drops, and none of these runs have 4.3 resources, so you can't say, oh, it's only good because you're showing 4.3 resources. No, and none of these had skill tomes, or I'm sorry, gathering tomes, rather, that dropped. So again, luck is not a factor here. It is merely, purely 100% mob density, and the new zones, the new tier 5 and 6 zones, the mob density is way, way lower. Now, I also tested tier 3 zones. In the next, in coming up here, I do a couple tests in tier 3 zones. I do a tier 3 skinning test where I just harvest everything. I just get all my tools and pick up all the resources around a tier 3 zone, and it's surprisingly very, very close to just skinning in a tier 4 blue zone. It's like right on the nose close. It's like 10,000 silver close, kind of. So again, that's a viable thing, right? So then I do another tier 3 gathering test where I only focus on one single resource, which it's it's okay. But because the resource I chose was stone, and because stone is so close to Bridgewatch, and Bridgewatch is the refining capital for stone, and because you can refine tier 2 stone for free, that dramatically increased the silver per hour, simply because you can, as soon as you're done gathering, you just refine the tier 2 stone, again, for completely free. Go, take a stretch break, get a sip of water, whatever it is you want to drink, and then boom, you're making $1 million an hour. So, again, that's the two winners of the video, is the tier 4 blue zone skinning and the tier 3 blue zone stone mining. But you don't have to go to a tier 3 zone for stone mining. You can simply go to a tier 4 blue zone for stone mining and just choose not to mine the travertine, which is the tier 4 stone, because travertine is absolutely garbage, completely worthless. But, gathering per hour is not that good, and a little while back, not too far back, I did a red zone fishing test for silver per hour, and that was bad, and there's no way that yellow zone would be better than red zone, and the fishing zone I did it in was also, it has like the special fish, the Rhodes fish, which are worth way more than, say, the eels, in, the forest regions. So, again, I didn't feel like I needed to test fishing in this massive expedition, because, again, this is hours of my time devoted to this research here. And I'm just trying to share with you guys that if you want, because I always read Reddit posts, oh, I can't make enough silver per hour. I tried gathering in a tier 5 yellow zone, and I only made 300K. Well, when I do it, I also only make like 300-something K in 30 minutes. And that's because tier 5 yellow zone gathering sucks. So does the tier 6 yellow zone gathering. We were all hyped for the tier 6 yellow zone gathering, and I shared the results earlier in the video, but I found a total of 2 wolves, 2 tier 6 trees, and 2 slates in 30 minutes. That's nothing. That's garbage. And yeah, there's plenty of nodes around the map that, there must be at least 30, maybe 40 tier 6 tree nodes in that forest map that I went to. But, like I said, they're all being radar hacked. They're all being picked clean the second they pop up. If anything, I bet the gatherers that are doing it have it on timer, which I've never bothered to time tier 6 resources because they've never been in safe zones, so I never bothered. But, yeah, it's so overly farmed that if you go there just in the middle of the day, prime time or not, it doesn't matter. Maybe when the server pops up, you might be able to snatch some, but other than that, I don't see how these tier 6 zones are going to make anyone any money. They're a waste of time. You're better off just farming in the tier 3 and 4 blue zones and then buying the tier 6 materials from the radar hackers. Anyway, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. Click the video on the right side of your screen. If you do, you'll have a happy Thanksgiving. And if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, then whatever holiday comes next after that for you.